and we are streaming. Good morning, everyone. This is episode 248, being recorded on whatever day today is. 17th, apparently, in your part of the world. 18th in mine. Just the usual warning, this is the raw version of the podcast. This is just us recording. This is our backup, and it just happens to be video as well. The real edited version, such as it is, will be published tomorrow-ish as an MP3, as it always has been. 248. Bloody hell, that's a lot of podcasts. Okay, so guess Jill will introduce them properly, but it's Blay and Andrew, Sweater Economics. Anything else we want to do beforehand, gentlemen, or are we good to go? I believe everyone is recording.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Just let me see any final words. Coverage. No, that's it. Let's roll. Oh, chill.
Right.
Sorry.
Yep.
One thing before you roll. Chat room. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, we will do so during the force feedback segment. But please ask us just during the show. If you can, address it to myself or Chill, either of us, and we'll note it down. So, for covering later. All right, let's roll.
All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is worth 1/4 portion. This is episode 248, being recorded on Wednesday, February 17th, 2016. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys. Loving the Force Awakens references.
And our guests are Andrew of Sweater Economics and Blay. So, Andrew, how you been? What you been up to?
I've been good. I've been playing less recently than I was for a long time there. We have a move coming up in a few months, so we've been going through the process of putting a house on the market and trying to buy a new house in a different town. We actually just literally 3 hours ago or so got back word that our offer had been accepted on the house we're looking to buy. So hopefully it's all coming together and I'll be able to get back to relaxing a little bit more. I think my wife would enjoy me playing a little bit more and having a little bit lower stress levels the rest of the time because I've been driving her crazy. But in-game, just doing the GM stuff as the GM of the guild that I started before 4.0. So that's been keeping me busy. And then I'm also on a raid team in the guild that we still have going. We just finished swapping in 2 new people for 2 outgoing people. So we got to do more gearing runs. Yay. It was fun.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's over. And get back to trying to clear some content that we haven't cleared as a team yet. And we still have new raid teams forming in the guild, so it's still got good momentum from the new and returning crowd, especially people getting into it for the first time after coming in and playing the Kotfi story. So it's been good. And it's the one thing with Kotfi, I think that it has changed my personal playstyle a little bit between the real life time commitments and in-game. I think I've definitely found myself not spending as much time on the things that I was spending time on maybe 6 or 12 months ago. And I'm kind of returned a little bit to more of the personal playstyle that I had back when I started the blog, where it was a little bit more focused on, making credits, getting the kinds of things that I wanted in the game, like decorations and outfits and things like that. I bought, I think, 30 armor sets over the weekend off the GTN to get ones that I hadn't gotten a hold of yet that were at a reasonable price. So I've kind of gotten back to my roots a little bit and a little less operations focused. There was this point when I was running 5 or 6 nights a week of hard mode or nightmare mode operations.
Wow.
And that's just not feasible anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it, and it's nice that there's flexibility.
Right. And have you been doing much on the website?
I haven't been able to. I keep wanting to, and then real life intervenes. So I haven't been able to put anything up since the spurt of things that I put up in December. So I've been just kind of sticking to Twitter and Reddit and the forums and things like that to satiate my desire to have conversations with people and have back and forths about things. But I'll get back to it. I'm not sure if it'll be before the move or after the move, but
Right.
if nothing else, by the summer, I'll have the time for it.
Sounds good. Looking
Do you
forward
want
to
to
it.
tell us a little more about that latest article that you wrote where you analyzed Electronic Arts' last quarterly earnings?
Sure. Yeah, I can talk about that real quick. So
Okay.
I had done the original version back in December before the most recent earnings call that you guys covered on the prior podcast. And so the biggest update in terms of the change, there had been some very pessimistic revenue trends, but they definitely succeeded in this quarter in which they released Confi in, at the very least, stabilizing that revenue trend. So that was
Yes.
really good to see for the health of the game financially, that relative to the same period in the prior year when they released Shadow of Revan, at least on a revenue basis, it appears that Knights of the Fallen Empire was a more of an initial financial success than Shadow of Revan was. And so that's good for the game. You know, if anybody who's playing it, even if it's not the kind of content that is maybe each person's preference, it's still better if the game is making good money than not.
Yes.
Because you have a much better chance of getting the content you want in the future if the game is making money and continuing
Exactly.
to be viable.
Yep, because they're right, exactly. They'll release, they'll give the developers more play and so on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the real question heading into the next quarterly earnings now will be retention. How well
course.
can they do at... They definitely did. They succeeded in their goal of bringing more people to the game as subscribers.
Hmm.
And they were able to attract enough people that the fact that they didn't make you pay for the expansion didn't come back to bite them. They were able to get enough new subscribers that they still made more money than they did off of Shadow of Revan.
Right.
So now the question becomes, what does that look like after 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Can they, things like PvP content that they have announced now, and then whatever else they come out with later in the year, hopefully will be enough to keep those people subscribing and keep the game in a good spot.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Blay, how about you? How have you been the last couple of weeks?
I've been very, very busy with Chapter 10. It's kept me sort of just trying to find out if there's other possible options within the actual result that you can get. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it yet, or if you haven't played it yet, you probably should have by now. But there's two basic options for the result. What I wanted to try and find out was, does anything that you've done in chapters 1 to 9 actually matter
Right.
to what happens at the end of chapter 10? And I can tell you no, it doesn't. I've got about 14 characters who have done chapters 1 to 9, so I've got tons and tons of different combinations of,
Right.
did they
What he liked
destroy
and what he
this?
didn't. Mhm.
Yeah, did they destroy the sun generator? Did they side with him rather than Senya when going in to see the Herald? Did they possibly every combination I could make,
Right.
and then tried them, and then tried it with different endings for chapter 10. And the only thing that seems to matter is, do you destroy the spell or not?
Okay.
And that seems to be the defining decision for whether they go. However, I have found a way that you can actually destroy the spire and still avoid the consequences,
Right.
which is a bit of fun because choices matter, but not if you lie. Apparently, lying is the trick if you want to avoid choices matter.
Okay.
Fair enough. It's a bit hard to go into detail without actually spoiling it, which you've avoided doing very nicely.
Right.
You'd wonder whether that choice could be avoided or not. Though, again, the consequence, I'm perfectly happy with myself. Though having to choose all the dark side options is very uncomfortable. gotta say.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Just dark side all the way. On my main. If there's a dark side option, I'll go for it. It doesn't matter what it is.
And apparently you were wearing your OotiniCast Ootini Rage t-shirt while playing
Yes.
Chapter 10. How appropriate. Yes.
It feels very, very appropriate. Apart from that, I've been trying to find a good use for my HK jetpack. Going through various characters, trying to find any character that had any kind of armor or gear that would actually look good with that jetpack. Took me a while, but finally found one.
Yeah, exactly. I love these shots. Is this the natural color of that armor, or did you have to dye it in some way?
No, that's the natural color.
Wow.
Right. I was going to say, because the gold is not a real easy color to dye for, so yeah, it looks really good with it. It really does. Do you know what it's called offhand?
It's the Cassius Fett.
Okay.
Cassius Fett. Cool. Okay.
Nice.
I'll
I knew
include
that
those
looked
shots
familiar.
in the show notes.
Excellent. All right, Tio, how about your week?
We was back to Heroic Star Fortress. This time I unlocked Tatooine and got through that, and then I did Tatooine again because I didn't want to unlock another one. I just had a bit of unlimited time. It was much smoother this time. I did manage to die on a couple of occasions when I just got a little careless, but for the X-Arch, the final fights in both, I just one-shot them this time, even when I lost Lana fairly early on. Kite and Dot, easy enough. So, yeah, it's still nicely challenging, though every time you complete it, you get a bit of TO8 armor, and my Sork I hadn't bothered to upgrade really at all. He was still in the gear, which was partially from raiding from previous tier, so it was old. But yeah, each piece of 208 just makes it that much easier. So,
Right.
yeah, it's still fun though. I'm really enjoying doing those, and I'll just unlock the other 3, so it's 6 total. I've done 3 now, and I'll just do the other 3. Aside from that, I did spend quite a bit of time getting all my crafters up to 550, at least one of each. So we got the gatherers, we got the mission skills, and we've got the actual crafters, so people actually
Right.
create items. So there's 6 of those: biochem, archaeology, etc., biochem, artifice, etc. So I did all of those. That's no problem. Spent quite a bit on the new schematics, as you do. That's fairly standard.
Yep.
You can level all the way from 500 to 550 just by making those special components that you use the mats for, and then use those special components, assembly components. They're called different things for the different professions. You can just make those all the way up to 550, and of course then you can use them to make whatever you want. So that worked out all right. It takes more than 25, because as you get closer to 550 you get less skill points for each one,
Yeah.
but you can do it reasonably quickly, so that was easy enough. And yes, the Zakul Swamp is a place you want to go if you want biochem mats and
Right.
various other stuff as well. So there's plenty there. Didn't see much in the urban areas on Zakul, but then I didn't really look. I actually leveled. You can get up to about 530 just by gathering on Yavin 4, the previous tier of mats, grade 8 stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for starters, and then you can push yourself the rest of the way, either just through missions or do a bit of gathering on Sakul. And I've been sending my guys out, all of my gatherers, to get the white mats, which you need for all the various professions as well. Both grade 9, and as there's a tip about this, grade 8 as well.
Because they can be
and-
switched too?
Exactly, and I did that as well. I took all of my mats across. Well, I had a whole lot of them because I'm a pack rat. Did all the upgrades, very simple, all condensed. Almost everything is my legacy bank. I think I would just put all of my mats in the legacy bank, even though I was initially just going to put mats that are shared between a couple of crafters, like some use the metals from Underworld Trading, a couple of those, but I thought, what the hell, I might as well put them all in my legacy bank rather than just the my own cargo bay. And my cargo bays are looking quite empty at this point, but I'm sure I'll fill them up with legacy gear, which just seems to be raining from the sky. Now, something that's I noticed was if you purchase items with the shift click, which brings up the split stack dialogue, and obviously you can split a stack using this as well. Shift left click on it, brings up the dialogue. The option now, you can purchase up to 9,999 of them. Oh, it was pointed out last week that the previous stack size, 99, is actually, and the new stack size, 9,999, is 101 is the multiplier. Not 100, as I erroneously said, it is 101 times. So you'll, anyway, just for the math nerds out there who...
Right.
Yes, sorry about that, everyone. Let's see. Oh, and I was actually curious whether there'd be an achievement for leveling all of the crafting professions up to 550, because I thought there was previously, and apparently not. So, unless I missed one, and I actually forgot about Arms Tech. Sorry, Armor Mech. I forgot about Armor Mech. I did all the rest and thought, where's the achievement? And then, I hadn't done my Armor Mech, but I did him too, and still nothing.
Still nothing.
So,
Yeah,
apparently...
I didn't get one either.
Okay.
Maybe they'll add it later. It seems it seems like they will.
So this week I'll probably continue with I'll unlock the rest of the heroic Star Fortresses, probably start actually crafting some gear, because you can actually craft some pretty nice stuff now. It's not moddable, but it's still the higher tier, at least weapons and offhands, just to make things go easier until the guys can get better stuff through other means. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chell.
All right. First, let me give a shout out to the chat room, and it's updating at the moment. And it's still updating. There. For some reason, only a fraction of them are actually showing. Let me try updating it one more time here. Okay. There we go. Wow, yeah. That's crazy. Okay. So, we've got Akatanar here. Art, Music, Tech. Bill 646. Blaze here. Brainiac 3. Captain and GM, Cole Swotor, Count Luku, Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, Demerzel 85, Dreadix, Dre Bob 1 is here, and he's coming from Afghanistan. Duke of Etiquette, Farseer, Fiona, Gallon 63, Get Vizzy, Ignacio 88, Isuk, I'm going to guess that's the pronunciation on that one. JP Chivalry, KDR Man 34, my name's Swaft, Only a Wookie, Palace, Chalksen, Siskayetka, Soymad Drista, 1902, Swotor Economics is here, This Man, This Monster, Tokagun, Trig PT, Whistling Breeze, Zamzam, and Zwotor are all here. Hello, everyone. All right, well, this week... only had a couple of very short game sessions this week. My family were over for 5 days, basically. We went through the rest of my late wife's things and cleaned up the house and generally kind of cleared things out. The house kind of feels empty, but it's not completely in a bad way. It's sort of quiet, which is not so great, but also it feels kind of like a blank slate, or a white canvas. So... In a way, it's kind of nice to get that out of the way, and I can get back to SWTOR now. So, so not really anything to talk about in game this week, but I'm sure I will be able to this week. So let's just get on to the tip of the week. And how many do we have here total?
7.
2?
Sorry.
7. Okay. 7 tips this week. We're going to start off with one from Grizzly from Bedrin Colony. If you want your HK55 jetpacks to look as cool as it does in the promo pics, by having all 3 jets ignited instead of just the center one, hit Control plus Z. I'm not sure why that wasn't just the default setting, or at least the very item description should explain this as the Mount Flourish.
Yeah, agreed. We did talk about that previously when I discovered that, actually by mistake, because I don't have any other mounts with a Mount Flourish. And I was trying to remove the screen, the UI, and I hit that by mistake. And anyway, Mount Flourish, Control Z by default.
Yes.
And yes, it doesn't say anything about it. Sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, and it looks good that way with the 3 jets.
It does. All right, our next tip is from Ewan from Jedi Covenant. This is something I thought of while listening to last week's podcast. Stock up on grade 9 white crafting mats now by buying grade 8 white and upgrading them. Grade 8 whites cost 800 per, and grade 9 cost 2200. This is directly from the vendor. That is 2.5 times the cost. I think a lot of people will be focusing on greens, but whites are needed to craft most things also. And yes, you can exchange your white mats along with all the others. So,
nice.
And I certainly did that. And of course, you should never, ever, ever buy white mats from the vendor. You should always, always, always use your mission skills on the various gathering crew skills to actually get them, because that always works out cheaper. Except for the low level grades, I believe, where it's a bit meh. But certainly the higher levels is definitely a bargain.
Okay.
And I have noticed that it seems like the number of the gray mats or the white mats that I'm getting back in the missions seems to be a little bit more lucrative than it used to be. With the current grade 9 level, at least with my characters that have influence 50 companions, they're bringing back up to 20 sometimes.
I got 25 of one just the
Wow.
other day. Yeah,
That is a lot.
you're right. Yeah,
It really
it's
helps.
ridiculous.
They might have bumped it just because there's so few of those white missions. So.
Yeah, exactly
Oh.
one per tier. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, third tip from Einrau Keeg of our own Utini Knights on the Harbinger. If you are looking for a posse to run around with, try running around with 2 pets and your companion. I stumbled upon this 2-pet thing by accident, 1 flying and 1 ground. I found that you've been able to do this for quite a while, but never knew. Tio mentioned that I should bring it up as a tip since a lot of people might not know about it. So there it is, short and sweet.
Very nice. And yes, we had talked about that a long, long time ago, but it's one of those things, unless you bring it up and you're new to the game, how would you know? So
That's right.
one flying, 1 ground pet out simultaneously.
Yep.
All right, our 4th tip is from Jasark from Ebon Hawk. I was considering going preferred, but was bummed by the cost of escrow unlocks on the GTN. So after some consideration, I decided to do the following. I pulled out my otherwise close to useless contraband slot machine in my stronghold. There's a story from times past, but anyway. An investment of 1.5 million credits net me around 850,000 credits worth of rep items, which nicely stack now, and have a fixed worth when sold to any game vendor NPC. Plus, I can change the rep items into cash whenever I want and for the exact amount I need. But note, the small amounts of additional Jawa junk I got from playing the slots, if turned into companion gifts and sold on the GTN, will net me around another 75,000 credits per toon. Yes, this
Okay.
method is still a loss. I did this on several toons, and the loss is approximately 33%, 1/3, but still better than the escrow unlock prices on my server. And as a
Right.
bonus, I got 3 cartel certificates out of 4 characters and had the infinitesimally small chance to win that rare walker. But apparently didn't. Oh.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. Hey, if it's more efficient, it's more efficient. It
Yep.
just takes a little time. Okay, 5th tip is from Pevarmel. And Pevarmel writes, despite what was said on last episode regarding solo space missions, those missions are far from being worthless at the moment. As most of the content since 4.0, the solo space missions are also level synced. That means that all space missions stay relevant XP-wise until level 65. This is a quick and easy way to help leveling while changing pace a bit, and stacking fleet comms for decos as well. Teeny.
That is brilliant. I had no idea they'd level sync these space missions. That's fantastic. He is,
Yep.
of course, referring to those on-rail space missions.
Yep.
And, yeah, some of them are actually quite fun. And now they're all relevant all the time. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I played the heck out of them back in the day, and because of that, I haven't done too much of it since. But yeah, they're very pretty, great music, and a lot, and they are a lot of fun. If you haven't done it, it's definitely worth trying it out.
Yeah.
And there are some of them that, especially, I remember when I first tried them out when I came back to the game, some of those are fairly challenging. I mean, if you don't have the ship components that you need, and you're new to it and you don't really understand how the energy management works, it's quite unforgiving. So if you want a challenge, it's not a bad place to try something.
Yep.
Yep. For sure. All right, next tip is from Dre Bob of the Old Republic Dads Guild on the Shadowlands. Just a little something I stumbled on tonight. For those working on the HK51 mission, that's one of the many HKs you can obtain at this time, the part that drops from HK47 in the False Emperor flashpoint now also drops in the solo mode of that flashpoint. Now, that part, you had to do the story mode version to actually get the part. He goes on, I haven't had a chance to check for the one in the other flashpoint to see if it drops on anything but hard mode, but am motivated now to try. And I would guess it doesn't, because, I'm blanking on which one is it. What's the other flashpoint that drops the other part you have to do on hard mode? It's not the false imp, it's...
Foundry.
Is it?
Well, it is on the imp side. On the pub side...
I think is it Maelstrom Prison on the pub side?
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the hard mode version of Maelstrom Prison is where it drops, and yeah, I suspect it's only hard mode.
Okay. And Blay, why don't you read the next one?
Since you put it
Okay.
in.
So the next tip is from me. It's slightly shorter than my normal tips. For chapter 10, very, very important, take your companion in damage spec. It doesn't matter what character class you're actually playing, if you play as a tank, a healer, or DPS yourself. The ads don't do any damage whatsoever, or very, very little damage anyway. So you can actually go through the entire boss fight without taking any heals, any med packs, and you'll still get through the fight, and your companion will still get through the fight as well. So to speed up chapter 10, just use damage spec all the way through.
Well, given you've done it 14 times, I guess you would know, wouldn't you, Blade? So, very nice.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Well, by a random allotment, the winner is Ewan from Jedi Covenant. Congratulations, Ewan. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that'll bring us to the holo feed. Tio?
And something that I'll just cut back in later. Palais in the chat is saying that the HK51 parts are available in solo modes for all the flashpoints. So even that what it was previously hard mode, they are now indeed available in the solo mode. So that's just
Easy.
win, makes it.
Yeah.
As with everything in the game now, you can do it by yourself. We are alone together in our MMO. All right, the news. Firstly, let's talk patch 4.1a, which came out Thursday morning last week. And it was fixing a bunch of bugs, only quite short patch notes. That Outlander gear set changed. They changed the colour. They corrected an issue that caused Chapter 10 to not be pushed to some eligible players. So if you were subbed or whatever, you just didn't get it. And they reduced area slowness observed in Chapter 10 by correcting an issue with the NPC spawners. It sounds like there was a particular place where you clicked on something and a bunch of droids spawned, and they just kept spawning and never despawned, and it was just terrible. So, and obviously the area just lags the more live mobs there are in it.
Okay.
So that is now fixed. And the crew skills, they correct an issue that caused the crafting schematics to no longer appear in the crafting UI, and I started messing about with crafting once they'd fixed this, once 4.1a came out. And those two Alliance alerts, Reclaim Treasure and Shining in the Darkness, just no longer turn up. So they were apparently appearing where they shouldn't have. So they didn't do anything, and now they're just not there anymore. So, as expected.
Okay.
However, people ran into all kinds of problems with patch 4.1a, including me, in fact. So I patched after the servers came back up, and I got into some weird state. People were reporting the 310 error. I think it happened with Game Update 4.1 as well. In my particular case, no matter, they said it had been fixed, just wait 5 or 10 minutes, try again. None of that worked. I'd actually go into my SWTOR directory and delete a temporary directory that had been created as part of it. As soon as I did that, I tried to patch again and it just worked. So it just got stuck in some intermediate state. Yeah, that was just rough. So
How did you know to delete that temporary
I didn't
file?
recognize it. I mean, I know what the directory structure looked like. I just hadn't seen that before, and it had just been created so in the last day. So I knew it was recent, and so I took a guess. I got a couple of other installs of SWTOR on my computer, so I can always copy those across in the worst case.
Right.
So, yeah, that was annoying. So a lot of people had trouble. Now, there, however, remain a bunch of issues extant that are in the game right now. Those relics, the new crafter ones, 212, 216, and 220 item rating, they're still a bind-on pickup. That is a bug, and they will fix it. They will become a bind-on equip. Whether it will be retroactively applied to, I would assume it will. So if you've already crafted them, hopefully they'll just switch back from bind-on pickup to bind-on equip. But I'm not crafting any anyway until this is resolved. If I want to
just in case they have to fix it the other way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, it's apparently possible to get into a state where you cannot complete Chapter 10.
Huh.
Oops.
Okay.
And that's still outstanding as well. And it's also not possible to complete Chapter complete the Alliance alert to find a findsman, which pretty much unlocks all your other Alliance alerts to get other companions,
Right.
if you start Chapter 10.
Ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
that's... So, basically, if you have played through the Chapter 9, at least for now, you must do to find a findsman, which will be one of the missions that you have to do. I believe it is an actual alert. Or is it something like that.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a general mission.
They call it an Alliance alert. Okay. I thought it did pop up. Or you get a mission to do the Alliance alert to find a findsman. You must do that
Maybe
before
yeah,
you
so
start
it's
Chapter
both.
10. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, do it. You're right, exactly. Definitely do it first. Oof.
And finally, this one they threw in just as a one-liner, but this is pretty major. If you use the sort by quality function in your cargo hold, which is the button where you can sort, there are different things you can sort by. Apparently they're saying sort by quality. It can lose items from your cargo hold. They will just
Ooh.
disappear and just be gone. It's unclear whether they're even recoverable. And
Oh.
people have been saying it's not just sort by quality, just don't sort anything. Particularly if
Yeah.
the cargo bay is particularly full, this can happen. I had seen reports of this on Reddit, and then they've acknowledged that this is a problem. So I've never used the feature myself, and now I don't think I'm ever going to. So
Right. I think I've only used it by accident.
Same. I know I've clicked it a few times on accident,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so I'm being extra careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, they have announced that there is going to be 4.1b, so we do have, this must be the patch they probably could talk about, which will try and get these fixed, and that is coming out Thursday morning this week. So by the time you hear this on the MP3 version, it should hopefully have been deployed, and all of this will be just a bad memory. Everything will be great. So yes. However, there is an issue with operations and flashpoints, which they're not going to fix. In fact, this was just posted yesterday. The team is aware of issues relating to some operations and flashpoint bosses. We are currently looking to address these issues with Game Update 4.3 and will pass on any additional information as we have it. Now, 4.3 will be Chapter 12 in April, probably around the 10th-ish of April. So, in other words, a couple of months. Now, the actual issues with the bosses that people have been referring to is that the boss doesn't turn, but the effects do. So the boss is going to do some sort of effect, like a damaging effect usually. The way the boss is facing doesn't change, and the telegraphs associated with the damage or whatever don't change either. So you may think you're standing behind the boss or in a safe zone, but no, apparently you're not. So this makes certain encounters, Master and Blaster, for example, the final boss in Dread Fortress, Brontes, the hands, you don't know where they're going to swap because it's just not right. And yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
this is for those bosses that don't physically move around the map. They just stay in one place and turn. Okay.
well, effectively yes. And I believe this was introduced in Game Update 4.1 because I never heard about this in 4.0.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
yeah, have you guys experienced it directly, Blay and Andrew?
I haven't seen those yet.
Okay.
We have been intentionally avoiding anything that has that going on. So
Gotcha.
I haven't actually seen it, but other people in the guild and on our raid team have been in groups that were affected by it. I know Underlurker is quite problematic again at the moment now because a lot of the different telegraphs aren't in the correct spots, like the green boxes behind the rocks.
Right. Yep.
Or on
Yep.
the wrong side of the rock, maybe.
With Underlurker, yep. Yeah, I heard that. Yam Swotor gave us the list: Master and Blaster, Tyrans, the Revan fight, the Council, and Brontes, which I mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh
Makes
god.
sense.
Yeah. No, it's not game breaking, but it just makes the encounters really, really challenging. So, but I mean that's fair enough. Bugs happen. But the weird thing, which kind of made all of the raiders a little perturbed, is they're going to take 2 months to address it. And that
Right.
just is... Let's be honest, it's a little weird that they're waiting so long.
It is weird, but I think that it kind of makes sense in the context of George Smith not being there anymore. That this probably wasn't something that they were trying to change anything about these boss fights in particular, it was probably an ancillary effect of something else that they were doing in terms of optimizing the game engine or something about, location sync or something. And it just had an unforeseen impact, like things often can in software and database things. And so I think there's a legitimate chance that they're kind of playing with one arm tied behind their back when by most accounts, your most experienced person in this area who had the most practical knowledge of these fights and the programming behind them is no longer on the team. That I think that probably is playing a part in this, because he designed a lot of the fights that are being affected. So if somebody else has to go in and learn the fights to the degree that he knew them to be able to then go in and fix them, it's going to slow down the fix compared to if you had the person who was there from the beginning still on the team able to say, oh no, this is how that works. Here's where we need to look.
Sad, but apparently it would appear true. George Smith was the former guy who has left BioWare in charge of operations and flashpoints. So you'd think there would be other team members with the expertise, but...
And maybe that's not it. I'm just kind of inferring based on the timing of it and the fact that it's longer than expected. Yeah. It seems unlikely to be a coincidence that when you just had your senior designer for that type of content leave in the last few months, and then you have an issue with that content, it's logical that it's probably going to slow down the response time.
An alternative explanation is just straight prioritization. They're going to prioritize everything else except for flashpoints and operations. So, yeah.
Yeah, can't really tell without more of an insider view,
the most positive perspective on it is that maybe they're finally learning how to under-promise and over-deliver. That they've chronically hyped things up and over-promised, and then given the opportunity to, not be able to implement it. I would much rather see them come out and say, we're going to fix this in functionally 6 to 8 weeks is basically the lead time that they gave themselves. So if they come out with a fix that actually works in 6 to 8 weeks, then they'll meet the expectations that they set. If they're able to get that out the door a little bit sooner and maybe fix it in 3 or 4 weeks, now they've exceeded the expectations that they set. So it's not what they usually do, but it's probably what they should do more often, is set more conservative expectations for things and give themselves a chance to have a positive surprise.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, certainly possible, but I don't know, just the way I read that, it sounds like they are not scheduling the work until then, but let's hope you're right, and the optimistic view is it'll be fixed in 4.2, or maybe they'll just do a patch and it'll just suddenly be fixed.
Right, but
I'm sure they won't sit on it once they have it. If it works and it's Q8, I'm sure that they'll get it out. So it's whenever they get to it and fix it, I'm sure they'll push it.
All right. Now let's talk referral links just briefly. Now referral links are those ones you can get from your account page on SWTOR.com. They're a link which you give to people who have never had an account before, a SWTOR account. This is friends who you want to get to play the game. They get some neat stuff, the Jumpstart bundle, when they sign up and play, and if they do subscribe, the person who referred them, who provided the link, gets some neat stuff. You get the Kurtob Alliance Speeder for starters, and then there's other mini pets. But even better, you get 500 cartel coins, and then 100 cartel coins for each month that each player, each friend that you have accepted it, remains a subscriber.
Right.
And so some people have apparently accrued massive wealth by putting their referral link out there and people clicking on it. Now, there used to be a trick where you could click on it and people would automatically be referred, even though it's not meant to work like that. It is supposed to give you a dialogue that gives you a choice. But I hope they'd suppress that. I don't know if it's still out there in the wild as a thing. But anyway, the reason that we're talking about this is there was the official post on the forums indicating that it's just fine to have your referral link in your signature, in your forum signature. That's okay. You'll only get into trouble if you actually spam it in multiple threads and in lots of posts to just saying, here it is, click on it, da-da-da. And I believe this was derived from some guy who was complaining on Reddit about, oh no, they banned me because I something with my referral link. And this is very much a case of there's probably more to that particular story. So, yeah. But anyway, official clarification, no problem at all. You will not be penalised in any way, and it's perfectly acceptable to put your signature, to put your referral link into your SIG on the forums. All right, now the big news, of course, and I did bury the lead, is February's producer live stream. So Ben Irving was back, our Aussie friend, with Eric Musco, community manager, to talk about what was coming up. And they had promised that we're going to talk about the new Warzone, and they did, but that and more. So let's just step through it. And just for us here, I'll cut this out. I have included a bunch of screenshots from the video just in our show notes, so that's why they're all here and why the show notes are so long. Sorry about that. I probably won't post them in the real post, but now you can actually see the video on Twitch. Looks like they haven't pushed it to YouTube, but Dolphy does have a YouTube version of it, so you can just watch that instead. So Twitch or YouTube, you can watch the whole thing with those guys. So it went for about 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and they talked through various things, starting with community topics. They talked about Chapter 10, Anarchy in Paradise being released, and what did they say? They did mention the shall we say, rough patches with the patching of the game with Chapter 10 launch and 4.1. And yeah, they're working internally to improve these processes to avoid things like this from happening in the future. And they also talked about the new pack and how feedback was mixed. Grand chance cubes all the way. And,
Right.
well, they're...
But on the other hand, the cool lightsabers and some of the other nice things. So
Indeed, there was some good stuff in there as well. As far as what they're going to do going forward, to be determined. So the marketing team, as we know, are trying new things. So in the cartel market in the future, who knows what will be in the next pack? Could be anything, really. Now, for Valentine's Day, February 14th, if you had opted in for email, specifically, you had to opt in for SWOTOR email, and you do that on your SWOTOR.com account. It's just one of those options. You would get 1,050 cartel coins, and you will get a friend referral link, which you can give to someone who can then get a free level 60 character and play through Chapter 1. That's like that weekend they did a while back, where you could just do this. You can just give this code to someone and give it a try. Of course, mine hasn't turned up yet, and I don't believe anyone else's has either. So you just had to, well, you had to be subscribed for starters, and opt in for email by February 14th.
yes,
So too late now, but we should all get that eventually. All right. Now they talked about the next chapter. That's Chapter 11, Disavowed, which from all reports sounds a lot more interesting than Chapter 10, in my humble opinion. I know some of you love Cleo, so it's okay, but I did. Maybe if I had done what Blaze said and put my companion into damage mode, I would have had more fun with all those Sky Troopers. Anyway, it's coming on March the 10th. So they've confirmed the date, March the 10th, for Game Update 4.2 and Chapter 11. And the companion that we're going to get back, apparently, is Major Jorgen and Havoc Squad. And of course, they are also adding the Eternal Championships, so we'll be able to get Baldar as well. So it will be... And the way they described it was, join forces with Major Jorgen and Havoc Squad. Venture deep into enemy territory and change the course of the war on the Eternal Throne. And of course, Eric is now a Major, so he's been promoted in the interim. So, yeah, very cool.
And I wonder if he's the one who's been disavowed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting, yes.
It's going to be interesting to see.
So look forward to that in a few weeks' time. And you will be able to find out more about the story, probably focusing more on Chapter 10, next week in next week's story live stream, which will probably be with Charles Boyd and maybe Alexander Freed again. Bit of a surprise to see him on the last one, so that'll be next week. That'll be cool on Thursday. Next, they talked about the Eternal Championship. We got
Yes.
actually got to see some footage of it. So it is an arena area, completely new, somewhere on Zakul, apparently. And they had the screenshot of a Rancor, a very cool looking Rancor. And that was a rare drop, I believe, in the more difficult of the encounters. And they talked about that previously. So yeah, that'll be a very nice mount. Who knows what the probability of getting it is. Anyway, they talked through how it all worked. We could actually see it with the various how you go in there. It is looks like an instanced area, and each time you finish the fight, you have the option of continuing or cashing out, as we talked through previously as well. So it was more being able to see it for the first time. Eric said that he played through it, and it was the first 5 bosses, which is apparently how much he'd done when they did this. It was harder than he expected.
Mm-hmm.
So take that for what it's worth. Not really that much to add. Really looking forward to it, though. It's just like the Star Fortresses. It should be a kind of nice challenge, particularly as you get closer to the 10th boss. They sound like they really are going to make it challenging.
Yeah. I like the feature where you can actually look ahead and sort of see what the next boss is going to do, give you a hint of what mechanics you're going to be up against.
Yep.
I imagine, especially in the later rounds, that's going to be useful.
Tell me about the next round conversation option. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am liking... I like the concept of bringing it in, too, because I feel like I know a lot of people who are less active in raiding right now than they were at previous points. And so a lot of them, if they're still playing a lot, they are just using dummy parses as basically a competitive mini game, to try and beat other people either in their guild or on their server at their spec of choice. And so I could see the Eternal Championship being a little bit more enjoyable version of that, maybe. That if you've got people who are looking for something competitive to do in the PvE realm, that even if clearing all 10 bosses is not something that's terribly difficult for someone who is a good DPS on a hard mode or nightmare mode raid team, if there's some sort of ability to have a competition in terms of either speed or if you're able to post your DPS parses onto Parsley, I could see a nice little competitive PvE realm developing around that, because it's going to definitely be more enjoyable than the dummy parses probably.
Agreed. And as we also mentioned previously, there is a solo plus mode, which is what they've called it. Now, those don't count for the weeklies. You still get the credit reward, and you can do those with a friend. So solo plus, or otherwise known as a group.
Yes.
But yeah.
Group. Okay.
But if you actually want the weekly rewards, you've got to do it solo, of course, which is the primary way it's intended. Okay, next, the new Warzone. Now, we got a bit more detail because they had to actually reveal quite a lot about it, but they did include some screenshots, sort of. So we've got a few views. It's got some internal indoor areas. They've added power-ups for various things, apparently a little more sophisticated than the regular power-ups. There's an open area outside, it looks like. It looks really pretty, so as far as the art goes, looks like
gorgeous. And I don't know, I guess my head immediately went to outdoors because it was called a King of the Hill style map, but I was kind of shocked to see it was mostly inside, so... That's just the way my brain works. But there's some gorgeous art in these screenshots. I can't wait to see what the full Warzone looks like.
Indeed. Now, Lana Benico will be doing the voiceover. So, but probably the most startling thing about this, it's our first cross-faction Warzone.
Yes.
So what does that mean? It means that your team will draw on players from queues from both factions, Empire and Republic. Now, if you're grouped up, obviously you can only group with people on your own faction. But if you're just randoming in, it's entirely possible you'll see other people from the other faction on your own team. So we have mixed teams. Whether it'll preference, like try and get Republic teams and Empire teams, or it'll just do this randomly and it'll just be both, who knows?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Very cool, though.
And even better, this will be on PTS. So yes, if we are going to get this untested by players, it will be on PTS in 2 or 3 weeks. So from now, maybe a couple of weeks, the PTS will be up and you'll actually be able to try it.
Mm-hmm.
They also pointed out there will be 2 to 5 control points, the hills, that will be needed that you will control. And the power-ups will affect the control points, etc. So yeah. Now, they had a bonus for us. There's a new arena, Rishi Arena. There had been rumours of this I'd heard in various places, but yep, that's about all they told us. They gave us a screenshot. It's pretty much Rishi, and yeah, it looks kind of cool. Quite open, as you would expect from an arena, and launch date to be determined. So maybe not with the new Warzone, which I should have mentioned is coming in April with Chapter 12. So along with those Operation and Flashpoint fixes, we will apparently also get in Game Update 4.2 the new Warzone, and we don't know if the Rishi Arena will turn up there. So
Okay.
yes, wow.
That was a good example of maybe they learned their lesson on not overhyping things.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they didn't give any indication ahead of time that there was going to be any sort of announcement, like a bonus arena map thrown in, and then
Yes.
just sprung it on the stream, and then didn't promise that it would be out in April with the arena map necessarily, just that it was going to be coming soon as well. So I feel like there's a few different spots now where I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern, and it makes me optimistic that maybe they learned their lesson from the overhyping of the subscriber rewards screen.
The big rewards, they were unprecedented. Yes indeed. All right, let's talk quality of life improvements that they introduced, and these will be coming in April as well in Game Update 4.2 with Chapter 12. Firstly, you can now have 5 strongholds active at a time. 5 strongholds. So that means that if you've got the original 4, you can now get the Yavin one without having to decommission one of your strongholds.
Nice.
You can have all 5. Now, let me just run through it all, and then Belay has some commentary about this. You get a 50% increase in decoration limits for guild flagships, so you can just have 50% more decos, which is a good thing. The common deco limit has been increased to 999. I believe it's like chairs and stuff like that, which are currently like 50 or something unusual. About 999, so basically 1,000. For guilds, you can now have 1,000 members. Now, this is not like account based. You like have however many accounts and then however many characters in those accounts. It is 1,000 characters. Current limit is 500. So that's good. It helps with the problem, but accounts would be better. It sounds like they can't or won't do that. There's now a legacy name column in your guild where you can designate that legacy's main character. So it sounds like, okay, why not? So that is really useful if you actually don't want to. What we do at the moment is use comments like officer comments or player comments to identify who the player is who belongs to all of the alts, if the names don't give it away. So now there will be an explicit way of using your legacy name to divvy them up, and that is great.
Excellent.
And what this made me think of was that it almost sounds like you said, Tio, that they thought about, could they do it based on legacy or account, but instead of rewriting the entire structure to be account-based instead of character-based, they just doubled the character limit and added this field, which kind of makes sense. It's probably a good trade-off in terms of the time investment.
Yeah, I suspect making it account-bound would just be too hard. And so, as you say, it is a nice compromise. Now, for guildmasters and others who can edit, they will allow mass selection of editing guild members. As far as what you can do, you probably do mass promotions. Like, I'll take a whole lot of people and promote them. That's the only obvious thing I can think of that you could do.
It'd be nice if you could
Or kick them out, I guess.
And maybe bulk member note edits. If you can change, like if you can see who's in a legacy and grab all 5 characters in someone's legacy, update all 5 member notes and promote them all in one fell swoop. That would be nice.
Oh, hopefully. And apparently there's some other quality of life improvements as well, which we'll hopefully be announcing in the next few weeks. Again, what Andrew was saying, under-promising. So hopefully they'll sneak those in as well. Now, Blake. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Real quick before Trig had a good point in the chat box that tying it to an account might have problems in terms of people who have characters in multiple guilds.
Yeah, that's true. They'd have to relax the being a member. If they did that, they would have to allow the same account to be a member of multiple guilds. I mean, why not? So, yeah, that would still work for me. But again, there's
added to that difficulty level of switching it after it's been one way for a while.
That's true, and there is also, of course, the privacy implication where some people actually want to have their characters safely anonymous from each other, so people don't know that they're actually belonging to the same player.
Yep, it does happen.
It does
like a
happen,
GM
indeed.
who wants to quietly level an alt and not have administrative questions.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that.
Yeah, I leveled 5 characters that way, where I was just logging in, just playing the game. Nobody knew it was me.
Well, it's not like you need the 10% XP bonus anymore, is it?
Not true.
Blake? You have...
Okay, so my question is this. With the change now so that we're going to have 5 strongholds, how is that going to affect people who do conquest? At the moment, there's a conquest bonus. And the conquest bonus is based on you having 4 strongholds, 25% per stronghold if you complete each stronghold 100%. If they move it up to 5, are they going to swap it down so that you only get in 20% per stronghold? And if you do that, the amount of rubbish that you'd have to use to fill Yavin and Tatooine is absolutely huge. The decoration market is about to absolutely explode as people just end up paying anything that they can as cheaply as they can just to try and put it in.
No. Well, my assumption, to be tested, is that they'll take the 4 highest out of 5. So it'll remain 25%, but they'll only count your 4 highest. That would be the sensible thing to do. But yes, they could do exactly what you say and just make it 20% per and this problem.
Well, they did make the change with Tatooine. When they increased the number of Hux in Tatooine, your percentage went down.
Yeah.
I bet that they will update it and that it will be based on the 5 and each giving 20%. And I think that might be connected to why they're giving you 999 of those common decorations. Because there's things like the hanging vines and stuff for Yavin that when I actually, Dromund Kaas is the one that I don't have currently. So I've decorated Tatooine and Yavin 100%. And attempted to actually have some semblance of a theme to it, not just thrown trophies on the walls. And I really wished when I was going through Yavin that I could have had more of those hanging vines and the rubble and things like that to be able to have a cheap but consistent look while also filling up the stronghold. So I think it could play off of each other nicely if they're going to let you have more of those basic decorations. It wouldn't be too bad filling it up if you have access to more of the basics. I mean, it'll obviously still take 5 hours of sitting there and clicking, but...
Which is soul-destroying, having done it, yes. Blay, you had some thoughts on the pack?
Yes, so with the pack, I think it's the first time they've managed to change opening a pack into a grind. We now have the pack opening grind, where you open a pack, you get a load of the boxes, you then end up having to open up all the boxes as well. The amount of time it now takes just to open up a hyper crate, it's increasing. Buy 3 hyper crates, spend the next hour just opening up packs, just hitting that button, just spamming it.
People enjoy that. That's the whole point, Blay. You get 2 surprises in one, in all seriousness. So it's actually a bonus. That's not a negative. That's a positive.
You do. But I still wish that they had gone down the lines of gold, silver, bronze. each series having its own gold, silver, and bronze, and therefore you can actually get the pieces that you want from a series rather than just having this absolute random. Could be anything.
Ain't that the truth?
I am enjoying the Grand Chance cubes on the GTN are creating a fun and interesting market. People were really struggling with how to price the Grand Chance cubes, the cartel packs, and the hyper crates on the GTN, because on a lot of servers, the Grand Chance cubes themselves were going for almost 1 million credits in the first few days after they started to unlock. There was a lot of most servers, they were going for between 500,000 and 1 million credits, but usually a cartel pack wouldn't even go for that much, and so it completely altered the normal price structure that you would see for cartel packs and hyper crates on the GTN. So people were able to sell hyper crates for incredible sums of credits, well above the normal, because people wanted the Grand Chance cubes. So it certainly is divisive, but from a market perspective, it seems like on every server that I checked, there was a lot of interest in those Grand Chance cubes as a destination item in and of themselves. And people were able to sell them if they didn't want to open them and get really good return on them.
Well, Ben B55, our old friend, said if you hold off on opening the chance cubes until a future time, it will update what you could potentially get from them, because it apparently is based on the entire loot table of everything on the cartel market ever. So he's right. But of course, the probability of getting anything specific goes down, but you've got the vast range, which will just keep getting bigger over time, you would think, unless it is locked to everything before a particular time, but that seems unlikely.
Yeah, it does seem unlikely because they're not actually named that way. They're very generically named.
Yep. So, maybe?
Yep,
all right.
I've kept all 30 of mine.
Because you didn't have time to open them, you were too busy playing through Chapter 10 for the 14th time.
Correct.
Alright, now let's finish the producer live stream coverage with the sub reward for March. If you're sub by the 1st of March, you'll get your early access. But in addition to that, you'll also get HK55's helmet. And they do have a screenshot. People were asking whether this is a joke, but apparently it's not. So the helmet does look like you are indeed wearing HK55's head. I suppose one shouldn't ask where one got that, and whether they just hollowed out it from his, well, spoilers, but anyway. And you can see your own chin at the base plate, so at the base. I don't know, for me it looks absolutely ridiculous, but...
People having a lot of fun with it on Twitter and so on. So
I'll bet.
Well, aren't there about 6 more chapters left, and aren't there approximately 6 more armor pieces left?
So I guess the result will be you will be able to dress as HK55 with bits
Dress
of
as
flesh showing.
HK55. Yeah. Dress as him. Be him.
Yes. So if you ever wanted to be a droid, here's how. Well, we did speculate. Maybe they could add a droid class at some point. This is the next best thing. Oh boy. Anyway, one more bit of news, which isn't strictly related to Star Wars: The Old Republic. BioWare have put out an advertisement. This is BioWare Austin for a software development team lead, I believe it was. And the key line here, well, the main line, there's a whole lot of stuff they always say. BioWare is seeking a qualified senior lead server engineer for a new unannounced BioWare IP, that's intellectual property. This role will direct a team of software engineers to create the backend systems that will drive online play for this exciting new game. The successful candidate will have expert knowledge of and experience in the design, implementation, continuing support of large-scale, real-time client-server applications using primarily C++, etc., etc. Actually, I could apply for this, because that is my kind of experience, but I don't have the game dev part of it, but so that's a bit of a downer. But yeah, server-side, that kind of stuff's pretty much the same. No, I'm not going to apply it, because I don't want to live in Texas. But anyway, so the obvious question is, what's this new IP? a new
Yeah.
so it's not a Mass Effect thing, this is something new. They're clearly talking about something that has a back-end component for online play, so it could be a new BioWare MMO, or it could be, well, anything with a back-end component, which is pretty much any game these days with any kind of multiplayer aspect to it. So anyway, the speculation has run rife and, well, run wild. So who knows? This tells us pretty much nothing. So it's interesting though. BioWare Austin is doing something else. So they were working on Shadow Realms, obviously, and that was canned. This could be Shadow Realms, but the way they're talking does sound like something completely new.
Fair enough.
Whatever. Very
This
exciting.
sounds like a big. This sounds like a big step backwards from where Shadow Realms was in terms of the development timeline. This sounds like a very early phase position that's going to help lay the groundwork for something, whereas Shadow Realms was fairly far along in its development process. I do think people are really reading into the whole new IP a lot. When I first read the posting, I was like, oh, okay, they're making a new game. That's kind of how I read it. And then I saw on the forums and Reddit and different places that people were really reading into new IP as meaning, not an IP that BioWare's ever had before, or, a completely new IP that's never existed out in the world before. I didn't read it quite as specifically as that, as more of just like a new game.
Oh, I don't know. Well, you're right. The wording is completely non-specific in that way. I would guess it's something new, like Mass Effect that is new to BioWare, just something along those lines, would just be probably the most reasonable guess, just the way they phrased it. It sure as hell isn't Star Wars, so no one should think this is SWTOR 2, because it's... No
Definitely
chance.
no indication of that.
No. There is an interesting thing here. Experience with multi-studio development is one of the recommended skills. So maybe they're actually going to do this across their various studios, which they do seem to be doing, just sharing expertise. And when you read through the skill set, it doesn't tell you much at all. Just someone in distributed large-scale systems is what they need, which is pretty typical of any online game these days. So, something to keep our eye on. If they're just beginning to hire, the game itself will be probably years away, at least 2, most like.
Yeah, you're still probably a couple years away from an announcement, even if you're just doing the original architecture work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right, that's the Star Wars news, Star Wars The Old Republic news. Next, let's talk community. Firstly, thanks to our latest Utini patron, Scott C. If you want to find out more about how to support OotiniCast, go to OotiniCast.com and click that Patreon link on the top right. And the Utini events that Dread organised, they have continued. It was the Utini Conquest last week, but anyway, let's read through Dread's report. Just a short report on what happened this week in Guild. This week we invaded Taris on the Republic side, as it had the most options to get everyone their conquest points for the Utini Conquest, which is his second event. We were on the board for most of the week, holding off guilds from taking the number 10 spot. On Friday night, we got a group together to take out some champion guards on Corellia for points. After completing this, the group decided to take on the Corellian World Boss, Lucky, to get everyone their lucky and unlucky titles. Then we headed to the Rakghoul event World Boss, Toxin, to get Ivalon his Rackling pet.
Nice.
Very nice. On Saturday night, we got together to do Karaga's Palace, Story Mode, and Group Finder for the points, and we then decided to go after the Eyeless in the Rakghoul tunnels. We realised that some members did not yet have outsider ranking for their Thorn reputation, so we broke up into smaller groups to run those members through the tunnels for the reputation. Very cool. After securing everyone with their passes for the operation, we went in and attempted to take down the boss, and after a couple of different strategies, we eventually got the boss down. And that is a long and painful fight. Well, long, at least it used to be, and it probably still is. Mechanically, it can get annoying, particularly on hard mode. Now, on Saturday afternoon, most of the guild were running around with each other doing PvP, Galactic Starfighter, and Flashpoints, and we ended up closing the event in 9th place. While we were quite a ways off at first place, it was a win for us in terms of getting the guild to come together for a common cause. A solid victory for the Knights! I was surprised to hear that there were so many players who never did Conquest before, as they were either new players or they were returning players who had no idea about it, because we do forget that when they introduced it. It wasn't that long ago, relatively speaking. This week's Utini Conquest winner is Nuriko, followed by My Ian and Ignacio in second and third place, respectively. Thanks to Dekion, Fiona, Nuriko, My Ian, Evelyn, Ignacio, Positivio, Gahana, Caramel Thunder for getting together for Ops and Mumble to take on some of the content this week. Cheers, guys, and see you this weekend for the Utini race. Now, the Utini race is this Saturday. It will consist of 2 pod races that will take place on 2 pre-selected planets. Each winner will receive 1,000,000 credits. Requirements are that you must own a pod racer, and you must be over level 45, because there'll probably be one of them will be on Palasavis. And I'm guessing the other one will be Tatooine, unless Dredd goes against tradition. But anyway, having all the planet maps explored will be a bonus to taking part in the event, but it's not a requirement. And I have added to his post a list of the 8 pod races that you can obtain.
Right.
So I suspect you're going to find at least one of them somewhere. If you do want to participate, all the details will be in Dredd's forum post, which I will link to once again, and you can find it pinned at the top of OotiniCast.com.
Right.
Anyway, that's the news.
Okay. Well, Teal, before we do that, have you had a chance to check out the mini event email that he sent? That Dekion sent.
Oh.
I know it's a little awkward. But,
yes. Yep. Okay. All right. Now, in the lead up to the Utini event, our guildmate Dekion has suggested the following. To prepare for the pod race on Saturday, we are holding a mini event over the next 2 days, and the winner on Thursday night will receive a Zerka CR17 Incendia pod racer, and the winner on Friday will receive a Vectron LW1S, another pod racer. The contest will be to level as far as you can in a 2-hour time limit. We'll be holding the contest on Thursday and Friday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time, which is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific. Your newly created character will need to be named some form of the word Utini and will need to be a member of the Utini Outcast Guild, which is our overflow guild, which we may not need anymore with the 1,000 character limit. But anyway, also make sure you are a member of the Utini channel by typing /cjoin Utini. Dekion will be the host of the event on Thursday, and Dredd will host on Friday. Begin gathering 30 minutes prior to the event so we can add everyone that participates into the Utini Outcast Guild. It is only open to Utini Knights that are eligible to participate in the pod race this weekend. Very cool, Dekion. So thanks to you and Dredd, of course. This has really livened up the guild. I've seen a lot of people on, so yeah, it's really good. Thank you, guys. And I'll put all the details of that into our show notes as well, and he'll probably put it onto the forums. So anyway, thank you, guys, and that's the news.
All right. And shall I introduce the Academy?
Please.
Okay, wanted to be sure. All right, that'll bring us to the Academy, and in this week's installment of the Academy, Swoterisa joins us again this time to help you choose which class to play.
And Q Sweaterista, I'm not going to play it. It's about 7 minutes long. It will be in the MP3 version of the show.
Okay. And that'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And we'll start off with Joseph Brown. It's the class quest where you ran around Rishi clicking on the 4 tubes, and it came up for me when they hotfixed it.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Does anyone remember?
I think we were talking about one of the Rishi class missions, but I can't remember what exactly the deal was.
All right, I'll cut this out. Sorry, Joseph.
All right.
I should have looked it up, but I should have asked you, actually. But
And let's see. Name NZ wrote, "My biggest stack is 5,412 Warzone Adrenals."
Impressive.
That's a lot.
Very impressive, yeah.
Sashari wrote, "I thought I'd contribute to the conversation since you guys have been talking about Grand Chance Cubes and the likelihood of finding them in the Anarchist Alliance packs lately. I recently bought a Hypercrate, and of the 30 individual packs, 5 contained 2 Grand Chance Cubes apiece. None contained the Consair Revolution mount or the Unstable Arbiter's Lightsaber or Dual Saber, leading me to think that the drop rates for those 2 items are decidedly low. Silver level items abounded, including the Vibro Swords, the silver level mounts, and the silver level armor boxes. Anyway, as always, I'm a fan of the show. Keep up the good work." Thanks, Sashari.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah, I suspect it's in the low percentage, which is kind of weird because I thought if they're silver items or gold items, it should be fairly constant. Like all gold items have the same probability of dropping, but I don't think it works like that. But anyway.
Okay, Nightmare from the Prophecy of the Five server wrote, just thought I'd drop a quick note about chargebacks. When a chargeback is issued by a bank, the company receiving it, in this case EA, will be charged a fee from that bank, usually around $25. That's why they're so firm on chargebacks. You're costing them real money while the bank is flagging the transaction as fraudulent.
No, I did not realize that. So, as we talked about last week, if you do a chargeback on your sub or any amount of money you paid, your account will be permanently banned. You will not be able to play any of those characters again, and your EA account, your Origin account, and your SWTOR account, all banned forever. So, yeah, and $25, you can't really blame them. So, it will cost them money. So, sure, if you want to really get the boot in, yeah, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ethically painful. You shouldn't do this kind of stuff. But...
Yep.
It is very much a misuse of that particular feature.
Mm-hmm. Pyrochenko of the Harbinger wrote, long-time listener, first-time emailing. I wanted to make a quick comment about the email from Redrin at 5540 on episode 247. He poses a question about knockoff protection on vehicles. Excellent protection is the standard level for any mount that originally required speeder piloting 3 or was originally adaptive. My guess is that when they converted almost all the old mounts to all be adaptive in patch 3.x, they neglected to update the knockoff protection. This might explain why some of the lower-level crafted speeders and speeders from social vendors, there was a Circa stand-up one from Alderaan that has speeder piloting 2 and some high social rank, for instance, that have lower than excellent protection. Extreme protection was the highest level and was reserved for the Avalanche Heavy Tank mount from Nightmare EC. This was originally only a 90% speed increase like Speeder Piloting 1, but that slow speed was offset by the advantage that you could never get knocked off. However, that mount also got changed to adaptive in patch 3.x, and I think that with its speed increase, BioWare may have broken its knockoff protection then. Even though the tooltip still shows extreme protection, I get knocked off quite a bit. However, it might also be that knockoff protection is being nerfed to lower mounts due to the level sync process. Mere speculation on my part, but BioWare has shown that they frequently release updates based on builds that were older than live, and this could be a similar bug in play. I did submit a bug ticket on this. Exceptional protection is midway between those two. It was first introduced with the red Zerka Incendius pod racer speeder that was bought directly off the cartel market. It is found on most, but not all, pod racer style speeders and some of the Iraqi speeders. If I'm not mistaken, the only non-cartel market speeder you can get this on is the KDY orbital lifter vehicle that you buy with KDY construction kits from the KDY Flashpoint. However, I haven't checked that vehicle for a while since I got my Avalanche tank and since patch 3.x happened. Anyway, that's my understanding of the 3 highest tiers of knockoff protection. The author of the email should probably check to make sure their mounts aren't one of these lower tier protection mounts that got updated in patch 3.x to be adaptive but didn't have their knockoff updated.
Right.
I do think the extreme protection on the tank is bugged, and I apologize for not knowing the exact patch in the 3.0 era when the mount changes occurred, as I know you guys strive for accuracy in your reporting. Love your podcast, and in the words of some nameless NPC vendor, stay safe out there.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive summary. I do wonder whether the knockoff protection actually now scales, and so even no matter what it says on the tooltip, whether it will just put the higher speed of piloting, the higher knockoff protection. That's just a guess and probably not accurate. I suspect it's exactly what he said. They just kind of screwed it up in certain places when they made them all adaptive. Not that I'd go back, of course. And the point about level sync is also interesting, because previously you would just out-level it, but now you're going to be vulnerable pretty much anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sir Salisbury wrote their problem with the statement that players should create their own content is a bit extreme, as BioWare doesn't give us the tools to create our own content, like, say, Star Trek Online does, with its Foundry system that allows subs to create their own personalized content for everyone to play.
Fair statement. You're taking the whole creating your own content thing a tiny bit too literally, I suspect. You could perhaps better say create your own fun in the game as it is. But he's right. Some games, like Star Trek Online, do have the most amazing tools to be able to create your own content. Literally create your own content. And it's just a variant on the tools the developers themselves use. Yes, Star Wars The Old Republic could perhaps one day release such tools, but I'd say the chance of that is vanishingly small. In fact, let's just say 0 at this time, and probably forever. unless they
Yeah,
move to
it
a
would-
new engine.
It would, right, and it would be very difficult also to coordinate with LucasArts. So,
Oh, yeah.
and did you want to say something,
Who? Andrew?
Blay? Yeah, your Blay keeps popping up like he's starting to talk.
Sorry. No.
Okay. All good. All right. Your average nerdy gamer writes in, any tips on starter ops?
Let's direct that question to our current operations players. Blay or Andrew?
I would just start off with EV as a beginner and then go on to KP just as starting. That's at the moment. They were some of the few ones that don't seem to have bugs.
EV
the
being
last-
Eternity Vault and KP being Karaga's Palace. Is Eternity Vault still bugged? The final boss where the platforms were invisible? Was Soa?
I haven't had that problem for a while now. I've been able to
Okay.
go in, see the platforms as I've been jumping down.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
if
they
you learn
fixed a
in,
lot of those rendering issues.
Excellent.
if you're going to go in and you're going to start learning ops, you don't want to be going in playing the ops, which have actually got problems at the moment.
Yeah.
Because that would just put you off for starters. Plus, it just makes it far more complex.
I don't believe anyone's mentioned Explosive Conflict or Terror from Beyond as being bugged. The bosses in there, so they might be okay too, but they are more complex fights. The ones in Eternity Vault and Karaga's Palace really are pretty straightforward, particularly on story mode. Well, since they
And
sort
really
of
the
took out the
biggest-
puzzle aspects.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think for anyone who's interested in getting into endgame content is that the guilds in the game are a great way to get into endgame content because you're going to have a group of people that are willing to help you learn what you're doing and things like that you're just not going to get from a pug on the fleet or in Group Finder.
Too true.
Right.
And Andrew, what's the name of your guild and server?
So my guild is on Jedi Covenant, so if we have any East Coasters that can't handle the lag on the Harbinger, like myself, my guild is Fortitude. It's a pub-side guild. We have an Imp sister guild that a lot of people have Imp alt in, but mostly, 90% of our activity is all on pub-side.
As an
Okay.
example of a guild that does operations.
Yes. Yeah, we actually just had a new team roster fill out last week that's
Very
starting
cool.
up at the end of the month.
Oh, good. All right. Greg writes, so last night I opened a pack, got a grand chance cube, opened that, and got a chance cube emote.
Chance Cube Inception. Or Chance Cubeception, perhaps. At least he didn't get another grand Chance Cube, because that would have just been weird.
Yes,
I
that
assume
would have
that's
been
not
weird.
possible. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's not.
That would be funny if you got that. So I assume that you just click on it and then it gives you the little thing that you're opening a grand chance cube.
No, that one's been around for a while. That's the one where you throw the chance cubes, the dice.
Oh,
I've got
that one.
It's been around for a while.
Not the grand chance cube, but just a regular chance cube emote.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that was probably better. All right. Juiced Hodemakers wrote, could the Blizz recruitment bit mission be bugged? It doesn't show on my alliance list. I've done Chapter X and the Yun mission.
Which is apparently the prerequisites to be able to do this. And I just popped in here a picture of my own Alliance alerts. As you can see, I've been a bit slack. But yes, the mission is called Little Boss, and if it doesn't show up, yes, something is wrong. So yeah, get in touch with customer support.
Right.
And it turned out I did have the HK55 one, which is Armor Rasa, which is the Alliance alert for getting HK55 if you happen to be a subscriber, whenever we had to be a subscriber to get that. But yes.
Okay. Yeah. Will wrote, if I still have to do the Trooper story to unlock my full legendary status for all the class stories, can I use the Instant 60 instead? Love the show. Proud to get into Teeny Rage.
Welcome, mate. And Blay?
You need to do the story. You need to do chapter 3 in order to get the legendary. I think is it legendary status. But considering that the Trooper story is quite a good one, I suggest they do it.
Right.
Do it, enjoy it, play it.
Well, it's not the best story among them all, but it's all right. And it's
pretty enjoyable.
and just to clarify, it's legendary status.
Yes.
Not
It
just
is a lot
legendary.
better now. The Trooper story is a lot less annoying because they put a quick travel point inside of the Senate Tower
Oh, did
on
they?
Coruscant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you
That's
can
right.
you can get like halfway to Garza without having to RP walk all the way from the quick travel out by the taxi pad.
That is fantastic. That was so annoying about that story. Seeing General Garza and having to traipse up there. Wow. All right, so that's a big win.
Yep.
Yes, and I do think it does still seem a bit inconsistent. I don't know if it always happens, but I know that I ended up with credit for the Mercs or the Bounty Hunter story via an Insta60 token somehow after it was supposed to have been fixed somewhat recently here. So I think there's still some issues with that.
Say it ain't so.
Okay, it ain't
All
so.
right. Dore Vajra wrote.
Chill. I'm not sure how much of this to actually go into detail on.
You're right.
'Cause
It's getting.
Yeah. So let me just cover it briefly.
Okay.
So, Dorje Vajra, the guy who did all the spreadsheets with various Star Wars The Old Republic resources created by the community, which you can access via the sidebar on OotiniCast.com on the right side there. He pointed to a video for getting the +10 datachron on the Republic fleet. The one that normally takes, 5 people and a lot of time, as we've discovered many times. Anyway, his video showed you how to get it solo. You do need 2 characters to actually do this. They do need to get some of the prerequisites, like the red and the blue crystals, etc. All the details are in the video. I will link to his actual post where he does sort of summarize what's required, and he does give a little additional advice as well, as did some people in the comments. Yeah, so anyway, this is only the pub side, doesn't work on the imp side, but remember, you can only get the +10 datachron once on your legacy. Now, that is all legacy wide, so if you're going to do it, just make sure you do it on pub side, and you will get those +10 to all stats.
Yeah, I watched the video, and while at the end I applauded the skill and the ingenuity of having to work out how to do this, at the same time a small part of me died, as it's another piece of group content which has just been totally ignored and done as a solo.
Indeed. I mean, it was always a little bit frustrating, but also kind of fun to sort of get together and work it out, look at the guide. Alright, you click this, and then you click this. No, you first. No, I've fallen over. Oh, crap, I've spawned outside. Someone go to the door, let them in, get them over the bridge. Yeah, you're right. Pretty impressive, actually. I assume they somehow sneak around the side rather than having to go over the bridge?
Yes, there's a ledge that you can walk across and then hit the anchor point.
Amazing. Alright.
Okay, and let's see. Finally, we have a joke sent in from Master Lou. It's Kylo Ren saying, "Hey, Dad, you want to hear a joke?" And then Harrison Ford as Solo saying, "No, I really, really don't. Why did Kylo Ren cross the road? I'm not playing, Ben. To get to the dark side." And then just
A grumpy Harrison Ford.
yes, extremely.
Star Wars humor. You never fail. Never fail. Now,
Alright.
in the chat, Ben B is suggesting... What's he suggesting?
Yeah.
It would be nice if there was an option to make customizable arenas in your stronghold that would allow you to invite 7 others to compete with you in these zones, while others could attend and watch the duels in spectator mode. Then they could add a system that would allow others to say if they like your arena, with no dislike option, so only thumbs up or nothing, so that you could have a rating on your arena and thus add another metric for players to work on gaining. They could even include it to run simultaneously with ranked seasons and give prizes to players with the best ratings on their homemade arena at the end of the season. They could even break it up into brackets. It would enrich the stronghold system and create a demand for decos on the GTN to build more and more creative arenas. He could also possibly lead to those decos could constantly change the layout of various player-made arenas. However, in order to go for prizes, you would have to lock your arena in for the season. If you reset it, it would lose any points you previously gained. Anyway, getting a little bit elaborate, but he's going to suggest that for official consideration. That's not a bad idea, Ben, so well done. Yeah, definitely do that. Sounds kind of cool.
It would be fun.
And a kind of player-made content.
It would be. Well, very much would be if he did it, if it went to that extreme. Absolutely. That'd be a lot of fun. Okay, were there any other questions?
Not that I saw. Ask or now or forever hold your peace. Well, until next week anyway. If I miss any, I'll just add it for next week. Alright. That's enough.
Alrighty. Then that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Blay and Swotra Economics.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys, keep recording. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week for episode 249. And in case anyone is even vaguely curious, which you probably aren't, we're not going to do anything special for episode 250, which is our quarter millennium...
Quarter.
Whatever, another
Right.
arbitrary milestone along the way. Maybe for 300. You never know if we get there, which we probably will. Yeah. Anyway, thank you again. We will be back. We'll be back next week. May the force be with you. And stop in the broadcast.